3, 2, 1. Let's go! I love country because it's real.
It's just my lifestyle.
It's who I am.
That's what country is.
It's about family. It's about America.
It's Britt's Morning Brew Crew. Weekdays from 5 to 10 a.m.
Let me show you how a country girl gets it done, y'all.
On 93.9, The Country Moose.
And we are live.
Hello.
Yes, 93.9 The Country Moose. Britt here from Britt's Morning Brew Crew with Camille and Lucy from Calamity Jane. How are you girls tonight?
We are great.
Good. How are you? Thank you for having us.
Yeah, definitely. You guys have been really busy on the socials from what I've been seeing.
Yeah, we are trying our best for sure.
Yeah, we actually have spent this entire week dedicated to recording new material, and we've been in the studio a lot. So, you know, that's pretty much the only option these days is social media. So we've been trying to invest a lot.
Right. Well, and speaking of, with a lot of that stuff, how often, I mean, I know a lot of people do a lot of time with it. How often do you guys spend on this? Aside from just like this week doing stuff, do you spend like a couple hours a day, or do you kind of limit yourself on social?
We've been talking about this so much today. Lucy actually does most of our social media stuff with Instagram and Facebook and things. We're just starting. We're trying our best with TikTok. We're trying to figure out what to do there. So we're getting some new material for that. But yeah, I mean, social media is super important, and I'm horrible at it. So I'm going to let her take this question.
I mean, it's not, I would say, unfortunately, we talk about this all the time. Whether we like it or not, we're on social media multiple times a day, every single day, because you have to. It's your job. You know, it's our job to be present what's going on and make sure we're posting and just keeping up. But in terms of just posts about what we're doing or photo shoots, I think a couple times a week is about the rhythm that we've gotten into.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where, for us, to be honest, it's a little bit chore. Like, we do it because we have to, but we're not the type of people who all day, every day.
Like some people, I admire those people that can just take a selfie right in the middle of the street. Like, I'm not one of those people. I'm so embarrassed, and I have to go to a room by myself and like work on it for 20 minutes.
Yeah,
it's definitely challenging.
48 selfies later.
Yeah, pretty much.
So speaking of the photo shoot, how do you like doing those? I mean, I know it's kind of fun because you get to get dressed up. You get to do something a little bit different than the everyday routine. How is that for you guys?
Photo shoots.
It's really fun. I mean, it's really fun now. At first, it took a while to, like, when you're just new to the business in general. For me, I moved to Nashville 3 years ago. And before that, I'd been a classical musician playing in orchestras and was not in the spotlight ever at all. And I was really awkward in photos. I didn't know what to do with my hands and blah, 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 blah. So at first it was really stressful, but now I think it's fun, you know, because we get our hair and makeup done too. We have some makeup artists that we work with who we absolutely love. So it's kind of like a fun process, but
yeah, but I've had, I have, my solo stuff going on, and I remember my very first photo shoot. I either looked terrified or angry. I didn't know what to do with my face. It was just a process, and so you just have to really find what's best for you. And we've had some really funny photo shoots though. I remember Lucy, one of our first photo shoots, she had this beautiful white dress with netting in it, and all of the bugs in the field wanted to migrate to her dress. And so there were grasshoppers, there were mostly grasshoppers were in her dress.
There were a lot of ticks in there.
And she was freaking out as we were taking pictures and screaming in between. She would smile and be like, "Oh my God." It was the most amazing thing I've ever encountered.
I was literally, when I took the dress off at home, there were grasshoppers still stuck in the netting. It was so disgusting. I don't know why they were obsessed with my dress.
Yeah, but we were actually talking about, doing the expectations versus reality. And, you have these beautiful photos our photographers are just phenomenal, but just the process of getting that and how funny it is. Like you're changing in the middle of a field and there's like random dogs from farm coming over to try to every time we have a random dog that wants to be our best friend, and it's hilarious. So
yeah,
we need to document that.
It's like
for sure.
Well, yeah, you just need a videographer that goes right along with you to every photo shoot just to take all the extras.
Oh yeah, we would for sure be like A-level artists by now if we could film all the funny things that happen randomly for sure.
Well, and speaking
goals for
of
next year,
right? Exactly. Hashtag 2021 goals.
Yeah.
And speaking of, so all of the stuff that you guys have been doing, you said that you were in classical, and Camille, what kind of were you doing before you guys kind of took off into the duo?
Oh my goodness, this is like 3 bottles of wine and like a whole night of conversation. But I trained classically as well. So I had a vocal music degree. So I taught and classical music. I taught high school for about 3 years before I decided to go into the performance world, the musical theater. So I had a very classical background as well as Lucy. We actually have some cool stuff coming out on our socials that relate to that. But yeah, we've both been trained, and the worlds are very different, but they can contribute to each other and they help each other out.
Oh yeah, definitely. Now, so how did you guys determine that you guys were going to get together as a duo? How did that kind of come about? Is it frozen on your end too? We gotta love technical difficulties. We were just talking about that. Are we back?
Maybe.
We can hear you. Can you hear us?
I can totally hear you guys now too.
All right.
Okay, good.
All right. Let's just pretend.
We lost you at that last question, I think.
Oh, no problem. All I asked was, how did you guys determine to kind of start the duo for Calamity Jane?
So it happened very organically. I actually had been in a trio in the past, like a year before we formed Calamity Jane. So we already worked together in a group setting and we really liked it. And both of us were always into the idea of doing something collaborative, not just a solo project.
Sure.
And after we had been in that trio together, we'd been in touch, kind of went our separate ways for a little bit. Camille was pursuing her solo career, and I was also kind of doing a solo thing. I play violin and viola. I'm primarily a string player.
Ooh, are we
running? A writer. I don't consider myself a lead singer. So,
wait a minute, maybe it's just reconnecting to this thing.
I think it's just jumping because it paused for just a second. You're good now.
Yeah. Except. Okay. Whatever. Why? No idea.
I think we'll
be back at it. Okay, we're good.
You're good.
It jumped. We're fine.
We gotta love technical difficulties.
It's really traumatizing. We're here. So as I was saying, in terms of, seriously, this is like so classic. So in terms of forming the group, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and I kind of decided in this idea of, I would love to do a project where it's focused on featuring artists. So,
sure.
Kind of be my project, and I want to call it Calamity Jane. I had loved that name for a long time, and I always knew I wanted to be like in a band named Calamity Jane. So I was like, I'm going to call myself Calamity Jane, and I'm going to feature different artists when I don't want to sing lead or I don't feel like my equipped for the part. Then I'm just going to feature other artists, kind of like DJs do in like the pop and EDM world. So I had this idea, which I thought was going to be, work out okay. And Camille and I had talked about collaborating on the first song that I was going to release, which was Devil Went Down to Georgia. And after we did that whole project and it had gone really well, we started talking like maybe we should just form officially as a group again.
And we had talked about it, like briefly prior to that. And we're like, why don't we just form, officials?
Yeah. Instead of just doing a feature, it turned into this thing where like I was going to have her featured on so many different things where we're like, well, why don't we just join as a duo and then we can keep featuring other artists, but still have us at the center instead of just me, which works out way better anyways. It's way more fun to be working with someone else. So
that's awesome.
Here we are.
So how do you figure with being a female duo versus others? Do you think you have it a little bit harder, or do you think there's just some things that are harder?
That's such a loaded question.
I know. I'm sorry.
Well, I don't know. There's been so much controversy with females in country music, with the whole like the tomato movement and the salad and all that.
I can't.
Oh, are you still there? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, but I don't think it's necessarily any harder for a female duo versus a male duo. I think it's just in general, like figuring out what you stand for, what your sound is. And that's just an artistry in general, just finding a way to kind of stand out amongst the crowds and figuring out what you stand for as a group, which is, we're still figuring out a lot of that stuff, but
I think like my response to that would be, I mean, yes, snowballing off of that. I think that it's like me personally, and I'm not speaking to anyone else's experience as a female, but me personally, I don't feel like I've really experienced any sort of discrimination or anything has been more difficult for me because I'm female, which I know others will not agree. So I'm not trying to make a statement. That's just kind of my own experience. But I kind of, in my personal experience, if you have a good product, if you have a good song, if you're talented, you have a good voice or whatever, people are going to like it, whether you're male or female. That's sort of been my experience. I do think, however, there is 100% a very, very bro culture in Nashville, which is something that nobody escapes. Like,
well, when it comes to, and this is on the solo side of things, I'll just say this, maybe I shouldn't say it out loud, I don't know, but it's with booking and live music and things like, you have your venues and you send your emails and you have, this wonderful EPK for a venue. And they're like, well, you're females, you probably can't sing for 3 or 4 hours, can you? And it's like,
I didn't even know that.
No, that's the thing. It's like, oh, you probably aren't willing to travel 10 hours, are you? And I'm like, that's all I do. It's what I do. It's living. So it's like kind of this just misconception that women aren't willing to put in as much work, if that makes sense. That's just my personal experience, But that's really the only thing I found that's been an indiscretion between male and female is just you do have to prove yourself a little harder as females, that you're willing to put in the work, or that you're just you put in the grit just like a man. I'm a woman. You have to like kind of unfortunately give that attitude. That's about the only thing I found.
I think it's more challenging. It's a respect thing. Exactly. I think it's a respect thing. Like it's a little bit harder to get respect. It's a little bit harder to take you seriously. But once you have their attention, it shouldn't be much more difficult to get to the top.
Very true.
But yes, that's exactly what I've experienced too. Just like at the very beginning, the initial impression is that
you have to try a little harder at first.
Yeah.
I can totally understand that. So now, thinking of the pandemic and everything, we were talking about being on social media all the time with all of this stuff. What's something that you guys have found out of this that you've seen as a positive, either within yourself or within the industry?
I actually think it's the creativity on social media, which is what's forced us.
It's challenging for us.
To really just reevaluate our strategy for 2021.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're not trying to now go on tour, like opening for so-and-so. We know that's not going to happen. So we totally revamped our strategy. We're like, bite the bullet, man. We got to do.
And it's like we're both all about the live performance. That's just ingrained in us.
Yeah.
But we've been forced to take a little break, really figure out. We've actually had extra time to figure out more in depth of what our sound is going to be. You know, what we represent, as well as the social media stuff. So advantages as well, and we're going to be like super ready to like go really fast out on the road whenever the opportunity comes about again.
Exactly.
Yeah, like please let us sing for you. Yeah,
I think all the Facebook lives and the new ways that people have found to make money through their art that's not live has been a really positive change in that, you know, it's just more convenient overall.
Oh yeah.
And for us, I think it's sort of like, it's positive in that it's continuing to push us out of our comfort zone and make us do things that we wouldn't have done otherwise. But in the end, I think really will benefit.
That's awesome. Well, speaking of getting out there and getting live, you guys have a new song that you have coming out now. We're playing The Mountain on our station, and it's doing really well. Yeah. But now I had a little birdie tell me that you might have something new coming out.
Oh, we are working on a lot of new things. We've been in studio this month, so yeah, we could probably do a little something new for you.
I would be game with that.
Cool. Yeah, this is a song we just recorded and are planning to release in January after the holidays. It's called Give It All Away. This is Camille's baby. It's a very sad.
It's one of those Camille Ray ballad kind of feels, which is very, very typical for Camille Ray.
It is.
It's 2 a.m. and my phone lights up. I know it's you again. It's about time for the bars last call. You just put your order, and as you chug your beer and take a shot, I'll pack a bag and get into my car. Yeah, and I'll give it all, give it all, give it all away. That won't make you love me anymore. And no matter what I do, no matter what I say, I'll come home and I'll be walking out the doors. Yeah, just give it all away. Yeah, just give it all away. It's been 3 months and I'm so confused. I don't know where we stand. Feels like I'm being used, and this isn't what I planned. And when the time's convenient for you, you stay the night and I'll continue to. Just give it all, give it all, give it all away. That won't make you love me anymore. And no matter what I do, no matter what I say, tomorrow morning you'll be walking out the door. Yeah, just give it all away. Yeah, just give it all away. T-shirt, it still smells like you're alone. I put it on sometimes when I don't want to feel alone. But I put it in a box with your stuff on the guess I'll just have to give it all away. 'Cause baby, I can't do this anymore. And no matter what you do, no matter what you say, now I wanna just be showing you the door. Yeah, I gotta give it all away. Yeah, I gotta give it all away. Yeah, I gotta give it all away.
Wow, that is such a good song. Man, that's fantastic.
You died in the first chorus. Other than that,
That's awesome, man. So when you guys
Thank you so much.
you.
That was
continue, sorry.
it cut out. You go.
No, I was gonna say, how did that song kind of come about? It's so beautiful, and I love everything about that, and it's so point.
thank you. Yeah, well, our writing varies. I mean, we try to get together as much as we can and write new songs. The first couple of releases we've had, original releases, have been all this girl. And so the stuff that we've written together, a lot of times, we're one of each other's houses writing in the same room. But this one happened. I was in the car going to Georgia, and it just came over me, the hook did, and I just wrote the whole song on my trip. And then I sent it to Lucy, and she, looked over the lyrics. We made revisions together, and this is how that one came about. And a lot of our songs, they're different. Just one of us will have an idea and write it down, and then the other one will weigh in. Or
we had also talked about like the first couple releases that we've had since forming Calamity Jane, which is still we're still pretty new. We're not even a year old yet, officially as a group.
In January that will be officially.
Yeah, in January. So the first couple releases that are all very upbeat and kind of inspiring and hopeful, which is great. I'm all about that. But we were just thinking how we don't really have any sad, like breakup songs and in kind of break song about like let's break song. That's definitely Camille's specialty. So she hit me like the next day with this.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's very much on our writing for sure. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate you guys kind of being here with me tonight, being live here on the Country Moose. I know you guys got some big plans here for 2021, and I can't wait to be able to hear that song come out, get that single in our hands and all the listeners' hands and stuff. I appreciate you guys being on here with me in the Morning Brew Crew, even though we're at night. It's weird.
Well, thank you so much. Hey, whatever time it is, we don't know anymore. So.
Yeah, we're not really sure.
Right.
Thank you so much. And thank you for supporting Mountain.
Yes.
We really appreciate you guys.
Yes.
Yeah,
Thank you.
definitely. Well,
Hope
we
to
look
visit you
forward
one day.
Yes. Yes. Once everything gets lifted, y'all are going to have to come up to Iowa.
Definitely.
Done. Love it. I've never been, and I've always wanted to go. So
Yes.
Oh, yes, most definitely. Then we will definitely show you Midwest hospitality.
Awesome. It's the best. It's the
Love
best. Believe me.
Awesome.
Thank
Well,
you
thank
so
you
much.
guys. Have a great night. Thanks for joining us here on the Morning Brew Crew.
you too.
You too.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Britt.
Wake up, y'all.
You know where to find me in the morning with Britt's Morning Brew Crew.
I can't believe this thing went viral.
That's what we do. That's what we love. Love it.
Social butterfly.
On 93.9 The Country Moose.